Hello again, everybody. It's your old buddy Steve Simonson, and here we are back again with another podcast episode today. And we're in the Founder Foundations mini-series right now. And today we're going to do a little bit of an episode about systemic thinking. By the way, I do want to just make a quick note. Sometimes the introduction, my little intro, first words to you, is a little garbled. And I would just like to salute Zoom for being stupid about that. I try not to have editing be a process of this podcast because then it adds on time and costs and pain. And so I just click on the record, but Zoom has this giant recording now message. And even though I put that on mute and I put it in headphones, I try to get it away from me, it still seems to interrupt the recording. So a little quality salute to Zoom on kind of screwing up my intro. But listen, kudos to you for listening and staying with us. Let's get on to today's episode. And really, systemic thinking is really intended to help you, what I call, break the paradigms of normal. This is a common theme that I discuss on the Awesomers podcast. And breaking the paradigm of normal means things that you would normally do, you should stop doing. Now, if you're already a systemic thinker and you're already doing this as a process of normal, then fine, carry on. But many times entrepreneurs have this core method that they do things with. It's a chaotic method. In the old E-Myth, by the way, they would call it working in your business, not on your business. And so the normal way of working in it and being in the trenches and being in the chaos, in fact, often creating the chaos, this is not what I want you to do. So breaking that paradigm of normal is what I'm talking about when I get to the point of systemic thinking. I want you to start thinking of each part of your business as an input. This part of the business exists as a result of this input, or sometimes series of inputs. And then it comes out and this process is completed over here. Almost like think of it as a flow chart. And you have probably heard me before talk about flow charts. I think they're really important. As a simple systemic example, if you're having a product idea session, let's just call this product ideation, you start with, we need a new product, right? So you go through your product ideation steps, and at the end, you have a candidate for a new product that you might move on to sourcing or some other process that's important to your business, financial scrutiny or what have you. The whole point is that if you think systemically, why does this function exist in your business? What stimulates this function to initiate? And then what and how do you know when this function is complete? It becomes so much less emotional, so much less chaotic. It becomes something we like to think of as rational and predictable and more easily managed versus the chaos of the boss read a new book over the weekend, and now everybody's switching to some new management style that is non-hierarchical, and it's going to be more fun because everybody's free range and whatever the nonsense of the day is. It's not that I don't want you guys reading books and gals. I want you to learn, but I don't want those to be kind of impulsively or knee-jerk reaction-y applied to your team, because the team has kind of idea fatigue. Many founders, and many of these episodes, by the way, this is a little aside, they are like confessions. It's me confessing how bad I have sucked and how many mistakes I have made. And then this is the rationale or the process or the system, since today is about systemic thinking, that I've used to overcome those deficits. And so I want you guys to know that when I use the proverbial, you or we or any of that, really, it's often just about me trying to share what's worked to overcome my own either lack of skill, lack of management talent, or what have you. So please understand that, I'm not making proclamations or pretending that somehow I'm not without fault. All of these faults I have had and have tried to overcome. All right. Palate cleanser, we're back on project here. So systemic thinking is really you making a determination that no longer do you want to rely on an individual whether that individual is yourself or your key person that you kind of shuffle all the hard stuff off to right now. You want to have a systemic way of thinking about this business. Now, fundamentally, this is not an overnight process. Too often I've seen entrepreneurs, they say, you know what? I am tired of these things. I heard Steve, he said, get rid of the stuff you hate the most first. And so I hired a VA and now they are the new bottleneck. And my objective is to remove you as the bottleneck, but not just simply move the bottleneck to some magical unicorn VA that you think can now suddenly handle your job or more. And without training, by the way, and often without support, and almost always without a management system, right? System, thinking systemic. All of this is tied together. Golly, what would happen if you actually had a management system and you had check-ins and you had kind of normal touch points that made sense and everybody could predict when those would happen? And it gave us a chance to think in a methodical, systemic, and more calm way than the normal chaos that me and my fellow grenade tossing entrepreneurs are well known to do. Now, that is the management style. Management by walking around throwing grenades is a kind of different method than the great management motivation guy Tom Peters used to talk about. He used to call his version of management by walking around. Now he's kind of updated that to, management by zooming around, right? Because you can't necessarily be everywhere and things are more remote. But the whole point is there's management. And in our past companies and including current companies, we have a general philosophy that you can't measure or you can't manage what you can't measure. Let me say it again for clarity. You can't manage what you can't measure. So you may have a feeling that the team is not as efficient as they should be. You may have a feeling that the objectives are not being accomplished. But if you can't measure it, you're just feeling feelings and not managing a system and a process and ultimately the people who run those systems and processes. So systemic thinking, a core foundation, you have to believe it. And this is, again, part of the Founder Foundations miniseries. I want you guys to dig in, be thoughtful about this, and let's keep going. But that's it for today, everybody. I thank you once again. Sharing is caring. Let's get the word out there. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.